This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the 2020 edition of the HP Pavilion x360 14-inch. And even more interestingly, this is one that has LTE 4G. So you usually only see 4G LTE in business laptops and more expensive ones. So something that's as affordable as this, and right now this is selling for around $600, is pretty impressive. And the rest of it, nice. You got a convertible, you have pen support, obviously you have touch support as well. Intel 10th generation Core i3, i5, i7 CPUs. We're going to look at it now. But first, a shout out to our sponsor, iFixit. When they asked me to do a couple of placements for them, I said, well, sure, because I've been using your tools for years, no brainer. So they make tools for opening up electronics, be it laptops, phones, GoPros, game consoles, you name it. So they sent us a couple of kits, like the Manta kit, which is a whole lot of different bit drivers, including some very obscure ones. Believe me, you probably won't ever need something that isn't in this kit. And then for more generalized something for everybody, every kind of device, there is the Pro-Tec Tool Kit, which is around $69 or so. So you've got your usual things that you need. Plastic spludgers, the guitar pick kind of tools, little things that you can use to pry off the difficult adhesive on this particular HP laptop. Or even what you can see also is the starter kit that was my personal kit. It's about $25, so all the basics are covered. Very high quality tools with a lifetime guarantee. So you know how it is with tools. High quality tools don't tend to strip out your screws, and they also, well, they do last. Be sure to visit the link in the description to check out their toolkits. Now back to our video. So I have to say that HP is really killing it on their affordable laptops. This does not look like a $600 laptop, to say the least. Yes, not every bit of this is made of metal. The bottom on it is plastic, that sort of thing, but it's got a nice, classy-looking chassis. So it sits below the HP Envy line. We just recently reviewed the 2020 HP Envy. That one happens to have AMD Ryzen inside, and obviously below the much more expensive Spectre. So it's not going to be as thin and light and pretty and all metal as a Spectre, for example. But it's pushing pretty close to the looks and the style of the Envy, granted, not completely metal parts, but hey. In terms of weight, it's not bad. 3.5 pounds. You can see the weight in kilograms on screen here. And they got a little bit thinner for this year. It's 18 millimeters. It used to be 19.7. Yes, I know. Things keep getting thinner and thinner. Do we need that? Well, hey, it does look nice that way. It has a 14-inch display IPS, and you have two options. Well, technically three options. You have a 720p or HD display, which probably nobody wants, but if you're really on a tight budget, you might buy. Then there's the full HD 250-nit display. They're all IPS, and that's the one that we have. And it actually rates a little bit higher than that according to our colorimeter for brightness. And then there's a 400-nit option for those of you who need to work in bright and sunny places too. So for the price, that's nothing to complain about. And it supports the HP Pen, and we have the latest generation that they sent us. As far as I know, that is sold separately. It's Microsoft Pen Protocol 2.0, which is Entrig technology, and that's the latest available. And I do see improvements here over previous HPs using the older pen protocol in terms of line smoothness, and this one supports tilt too. Yay that. It uses USB-C mini recharging cable rather, so you can recharge the pen and not have to go and source quadruple A batteries. So if you're going to do note-taking, or if you're just making your first jump into digital artwork and you need something really affordable and versatile, well, there's that. It's available with Intel Core i3, i5, and i7 Ice Lake CPUs. The i3 and the i5 have Intel UHD integrated graphics. The i7 has Iris Plus graphics. When you get into that i7 model, you're looking, of course you're going to get more RAM. You're going to get 16 gigs of RAM, a 512 gig SSD, and the full HD display on that. You're looking at about $1,250 though, so it's less compelling, I think, for those of you who are looking for the model that we have, the Core i5. That's where you're getting a lot for your money. That one has 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig NVMe SSD. It's an Intel Optane SSD. The RAM on this is actually upgradable. We're going to take a look at the internals and discover that even though HP discourages you from opening it up, it's not the end of the world. Our 8 gig model is single channel because it has a single RAM SO-DIMM, but there are 2 slots, so you could go up to dual channel by adding another 8 gig module, which is not expensive, or you can order it with 16 gigs, and that would be dual channel. Obviously, you could go even higher given the fact that you have 2 slots if you need even more RAM, but most people shopping for an Ultrabook in this price range probably don't want that much RAM anyway. There's a couple of different Wi-Fi cards available. We have Wi-Fi 6 and Intel AX200 card, but most of the listings that I found on HP's site are Wi-Fi 5 cards, which is perfectly acceptable for this price range. Performance is as you would expect for an Intel 10th Gen U Series Ultrabook, which is to say fine. You don't have to spend more money to get the same CPU and same performance on here. It has a pretty decent sized fan inside. Thermals on this were fine. Noise was not bad. So it's up to anything you usually would do with an Ultrabook, whether it's MS Office or streaming video, doing some Photoshop. It's got the chops to do some Photoshop, certainly. Video editing, I always like to use a more powerful laptop. I know a lot of you can't afford or don't want something that big, and if you're just doing some casual video editing, sure, you can do that as well. In terms of the port selection on this, it's quite good, actually. You have an HDMI 2.0 port, so yay, that, hook it up to your TV or a monitor, no problem. And since it's 2.0, you can do 4K at 60 hertz. And we have USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 ports on this, and one USB-C Gen 2 port that supports DisplayPort, and obviously data transfer and charging other devices. They don't say that it supports charging in. This comes with a compact 45-watt charger, and it uses a little barrel pin connector. We also have a full-size SD card slot and, of course, a headphone jack. And if you go with the 4G LTE model, there's a nano SIM card slot on the side, and you poke open just like you would on your phone to access the SIM card slot. It's Cat9 LTE, according to HP, by the way. Typical of today's Ultrabooks, the keyboard doesn't have a super lot of travel, but it's within the range of normal, your 1.3 to 1.5 millimeter kind of travel. It's comfy enough. It doesn't feel mushy or anything like that. The keys have good spring. For a laptop in this price range, it's not bad. Our model does not have keyboard backlight, but the keys are pretty visible, being black with white masking on them. As a Microsoft Precision trackpad, that works just absolutely fine. The speakers on this are the usual Bang & Olufsen branded, and they're pretty decent, again, given the price range and the size of the laptop. They don't have a super lot of bass, but they're not bad, they're not buzzy, and they're reasonably loud. For battery life, we have a 43 watt-hour battery, which is fairly typical for a laptop of this size, and you get a very compact 45-watt charger, which again connects using a barrel pin connector on it. And battery life has been, we have the Core i5 model with 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig SSD, and the full HD display. Battery life has been fine, about 6 to 7 hours of mixed moderate use. Office, streaming video, doing a little bit of Photoshop. If you're doing lighter use, I think you could probably push this one out even further. Okay, to get inside, mind you, HP describes this as not user serviceable, but that's only because they keep using the little, or not so little, but the rubber strips here that cover over the screw areas. There is one visible Phillips head screw right there, but the others are not. So you have to lift up the rubber strips carefully, and this is what it looks like. Notice there's a little hole, and it's going to match with the little hole here to help it snap in place. Aha, so these come off after you lift them up carefully. I'm using this iFixit pry tool here to get it started. You'll notice there's this layer of adhesive goo here. Very carefully pry up from the corner to raise this adhesive. You don't have to take the entire strip off. There's only a screw here and one over here, and the same story is true for the back area as well. So unscrew those four and then pry off the bottom cover. You can't use a suction cup on this because it's too highly textured. Its suction cup won't grip. So I use one of the guitar pick style tools to work off from behind the hinge. Is usually a good place where you can start to work your way under and then get off the plastic clips. All right, trauma over. Now I've lifted up this cover. We have a little RF and heat shield going on over here. This is like one of those like ultra tidy little things that HP has going here. A little bit of tape holding it on. I peeled it up, but you really don't have to. I'll put that back on. So that shows the, look at that, the bonus inside 2 RAM slots. Something you wouldn't expect from something that the manufacturer describes as not really user serviceable, because look, you can upgrade it. So this is why we have single channel right here, because they put one 8 gig module in our model right here, but put another 8 gig in, you have dual channel. You get the idea there. So that's really actually very sweet, especially for a laptop in this price range. Pretty good size fan right here. More GUI tape, and underneath that, this is where the M.2 SSD goes. Yet another fiddly little cover underneath there, and then there is some cooling material on top of the SSD, a little bit off center there, and right here is the 4G LTE card, because we have that option with our model. They list an Intel card. This one is branded as Fibocom. Cat9 LTE at any rate is what HP is claiming for this one. But wait, there's more peeling to be done. If you wanted to get to the Wi-Fi card, it actually is socketed right here. HP seems to use a variety of Wi-Fi cards. Ours is actually an Intel Wi-Fi 6 card, but there are Wi-Fi 5 cards too on the specs page. Depending on what you order, it's up to you as to whether that's particularly important, how fancy-pants your router is really. And lastly, there's the 43 watt-hour battery. And that's it for our internals. So that's the HP Pavilion X360 14-inch. Big props for the looks and the build quality in this price range. A little ding on the fact that it's a little annoying to take off those rubber strips to get inside, and then you discover, my God, you have things like RAM slots. It's great to see 4G LTE in a consumer laptop, and especially in this price range as well. My complaint would be, well, the display, it's HP, so you know it's super glossy, so you might want to get the brightest possible model to mitigate that. Obviously, the color gamut on this is not great, but that's fair for the price. It doesn't look as bad as it measures, but the PWM, for those of you who are sensitive to that, yeah, that's a little annoying. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.